Africa is structured within very different components, and its growth with respect to technology, its adoption and implementation has also been great. So I would say that AI is significantly important in Africa, and especially in trying to structure it to solve key problems. I would say key problems in Africa, and particularly in trying to leverage technology and innovation.
You need humans who can understand the data, who can understand especially the problems, because problems with the same data, you can address different problems. And I think that understanding those challenges, the human aspect of understanding the challenges, adapting the data to these problems, and then training these models, I think this is where we have significant issues. So to solve those, you'd need skilling. Skilling is very important of people who can actually build these models. And then you also need the data. So our contextualized data that uniquely captures our problems here. These would be the challenges.
I think before systems start to be built, developers and the stakeholders need to have a very robust accountability system where at every stage of the development, people can go back and see, are we still in line with what we're supposed to do?
You can see the young kids, they're very talented, they have the energy, but when they go to collect data, it's extremely expensive and they don't have enough funding. And most of the funding have been going into academic sector and very little into the private sector where the innovations is happening.
About governance of AI for Africa, we really need to put humans in the loop. Society, so we always talk about humans in the loop, but I think we need to put the whole society in the loop to contribute, to voice their concerns, and to, steer the conversation of legislation towards what really works for them.
AI in Africa has to be inclusive, right? It has to be intentionally ensure that we do not create gaps. It has to take into consideration the infrastructural deficiencies that we already have, that we do not build solutions that are biased, right, that violates human rights, right, and all those other ethical considerations.
We need to consider the nuances and contextualize them to our environments, and then we also need to investigate and see what we need to add to go a little bit farther to make sure that the unique circumstances that we have in Africa, all of those are accounted for when we're developing these policies, these structures, these frameworks.
So if policy frameworks help us to understand the need, the purpose, and the use, then I think that's what it needs to cover. And of course, the ethics, thinking about people's dignity, people's rights, people's values. I think that would be needed. So there's no one magic bullet. I think it's a whole spectrum of different solutions that can help to have better AI.
We do have an AI ecosystem developing here. It might be small, but I think it has potential to thrive. We just need to make sure that we are including everyone in these conversations as we're developing this ecosystem, and that means all the stakeholders. And we also need to make sure that we are always really aware on how detrimental these tools can be if they're not utilized in a human-centered way.